Rent discounting in Canberra. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. I have my stein of coffee and I thought we'd have a look at this article, which is one of a few that we're going to look at with regards to rent discounting. So it's been mentioned over and over again that rent costs are going down. Rent prices are going down. Before we go through this, let's jump over here. Let's look at, I've got the Property Council of Australia, their data room up. And you've got here, what do we want? We want residential property house rents. We can see here, this is from February of this year, the 29th. Canberra was quite high at $580 for an average house. It's all those rich politicians. Then Sydney, $550. Then Darwin was above Brisbane. Hobart was above Brisbane. Melbourne was above Brisbane because I'm from Brisbane. And here we are at $420. Which, well, for that I got a 2-bedroom place like a long time ago, 7 years ago. And we go here, the median unit rent. And Sydney's taking the lead, $525. Then you have Canberra at $480. The average is $455. Good old Brisbane is here at $395. So let's jump and have a look at this discussion with regards to Canberra rent reductions, because this is going to flow on to all the investors, all the people who have invested into their properties, if they're going to have to take a hit to their rent. So discounting of Canberra rental listings doubled during the pandemic outbreak, new data has revealed. And I've added the has revealed on there just because. Landlords have cut their asking rent prices in a bid to entice tenants amid the pandemic outbreak, with a proportion of discounted Canberra rental listings doubling from February to May, new figures show. So it really is becoming a tenant's market. There are opportunities there for people to save money, and landlords are having to cut their profits or increase their losses. But the suburbs in Page, Oxley and Gordon buck the trend, a domain analysis reveals. Across Canberra, in a tight rental market, only 7.8% of listings were discounted in February, the lowest across all capital cities. But this figure rose to 11% in March and 16.5% in April, before edging back to 16.2% in May. So the number of discounted properties is increasing. We can see this chart is horrible. That's Canberra, so it's looking here. Here we go. Look at Sydney, guys. Look at Sydney. What's interesting about Canberra is prior to the pandemic in February, the level of discounting was extraordinarily low. Domain senior research analyst Nicola Powell said. Dr. Powell said the national capital was one of the cities that saw the level of discounting double from February to May. So people are getting worried. They're doing what they can to keep their tenants locked in, incentivizing them. I mean, let us know in the comments, guys, if you're renting, have you managed to get a good deal? I like hearing the stories where people receive a good discount. I need a shot of my coffee, everyone. And yes, I do drink it cold, guys. Years of architectural study and late nights have conditioned me for cold coffee. It's okay. What this also says is that no capital city has been immune to the changing rental conditions. They're all exposed to it, she said. Dr. Powell noted that across all capital cities, rental discounts climbed in March, peaked in April, and eased in May, which aligned with the economic downturn brought on by the pandemic. Independent property manager Tim Westphal said landlords have been willing to negotiate rental prices with tenants in a bid to prevent their properties sitting on the market for too long. And we looked at that just yesterday, where investors were having extended periods of property vacancy. Normally they estimate, and they're budgeting they should, 2 weeks of empty time. It's increasing to 3. This time of the year, we do see rental listings adjust prices. However, the impact of the pandemic has definitely seen discounts offered more now than pre-pandemic times, he said. we saw some existing tenants who were struggling to meet rent repayments because of various factors from the pandemic get a price adjustment on their rentals. And I know a couple of landlords who've offered a few incentives or free rent for a number of weeks to secure a tenant. So it's like I've said this in previous videos, it's going to turn into a similar situation as, well, the commercial or retail sectors where they incentivize people to jump in. Because if you're selling an investment property, say that these properties take a hit. If you sell an investment property with a secured tenant in it to someone who wants to buy it as an investment property, that's more attractive than an empty one, wouldn't it be? Normally at the start of the year there isn't a lot of price adjustments, but that changed in April as people vacated their homes because of the pandemic. Normally at the start of the year, I've already read that, when looking at Canberra regions, the inner south was hardest hit by the pandemic, with 20.9% of rentals discounted in May alone. This was followed by the inner north at 20.4% and Western Creek at 15.7%. So proportions of rental listings with rent discounts in Canberra regions. So I'm not that familiar with Canberra. So guys, let me know if that's accurate if you live there. While Canberra saw an overall increase in the proportion of listings that were discounted, the suburbs of Page, Oxley, and Gordon bucked the trend. We've already seen that. Page and Oxley offered 0 discounts for the month of May, while Gordon saw only 0.6% of listings discounted. Well, I mean, that 0.6%, that was enough for another article we just looked at where job ads have surged, 0.5. Anyway, the data was based on suburbs that offered a minimum of 10 rental properties in May. It shows there are more families who are more likely to rent on a medium to long-term basis compared to what a single individual would be looking at, Dr. Powell said. In Page, there were only 14 listings for the month of May. However, in Oxley and Gordon, there are a pretty substantial amount of listings with 65, 154 rentals, respectively. Mr. Falia agreed with Dr. Powell, noting that all 3 suburbs were particular hotspots for families. Page is a popular area in Belconnen, because there are bigger houses available for rent, such as 3-bedroom standalone houses, and Oxley and Gordon are popular for families because of the price, Mr. Westphal said. Meanwhile, the top 5 suburbs that saw a high number of listings discounted in May were Campbell, Holden, Braddon, Bruce, and City. Geocon property management head Jessica Kerser said she noticed price declines in recent months as a result of the pandemic. We're finding that some rental listings are being reduced from anywhere between $30 and $60 a week. Wow. And the inquiries have reduced by 1/3 compared to this time last year. This has to have an impact on the valuation of property. It has to reach that point, guys. A lot of this is because there are no international students. Well, yes. And we've seen that. I mean, China's putting out more warnings and concernings to, well, pretty steering their students away from coming to Australia. That's going to have an effect on our property. And property is a big part of Australia's civilization and our wealth building. Or many interstate people moving to Canberra and occupying properties, particularly those short-term rentals. With the closure of borders, universities switching to online learning, and tourism grounded, an influx of short-term stays has definitely shifted to long-term rentals, boosting the supply of rental listings on the market, Dr. Powell said. Dr. Powell added there were areas where more exposed to changes in student population, particularly in Campbell, Braddon, Bruce, and City. The demographics renting in these areas are those under the age of 29, who are also the ones who have been severely impacted by job losses and wage cuts. A lot of them are moving back home, or they're moving in together, or they're finding other ways to save money. Many tenants were reassessing the situation or moving back to with their families, or perhaps moving into a shared house to cut costs. Miss Kircher, I think I got that right there, or Kircher, believes that as Canberra overcomes the pandemic, rental discounts will soon cease as the capital reverts to pre-pandemic norms. What we saw was uncertainty in terms of rental market, but I think now that restrictions are easing and there is a level of normalcy being injected back in the Canberra lifestyle, it has instilled more confidence in the rental market, and we've seen an increase in the inquiries that are coming through. But it's still down on a third. Rents will still be lower. This may become the new norm for some time. What do you think, everyone? Do you think this will have a flow-on effect to the value of properties? And how do you think this will, well, these reductions in rents, how do you think they'll affect the ability for people to meet their mortgage obligations once the holiday period disappears in September? As always, please let me know your thoughts and opinions. Are you a Canberrian? Are you using this to your advantage to get cheaper rent? Be smart if you could. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and you'd like to support the content I create here, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us via our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays. You can use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.